Revelation chapter 17. And the next two chapters are probably the reason why the Roman Catholic Church doesn't like the book of Revelation, and they have to put it in the past. So according to them, it's already been fulfilled, and it speaks nothing about them. Thing is, these two chapters identify them without any question. And I'll tell you what, let's just pick it up at verse 1. We'll read through, and I think I left off at verse 6 or verse 7. So he says there, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. We know that those many waters are going to be nations and people, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So she has interaction. She's responsible for interacting with all the people of the earth in some manner, some form. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. That's going to come up again here. Let's go on, continue to read verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So he's describing to you, he's telling you what her colors are. He's telling you how she's arrayed. He's telling you what the symbol is of this woman. Her symbol's a golden cup. Her colors are purple and scarlet, and she's decked with precious stones and pearls. Well, that's certainly in the Baptist church, although we do have some scarlet in here. Thank God we don't have purple carpet. But he's identifying those things there, and it doesn't take much to figure. So, you can say, well, that was pagan Rome, and that's their answer. That was pagan Rome. Well, the fact that the things that happen in the book of Revelation do not happen in 70 A.D. when Jerusalem's destroyed. In fact, they don't happen in the last 2,000 years. They just don't happen. You can only apply there's just a few things that take place, but mainly the book of Revelation is about something that hasn't even happened yet. And you cannot just place it into the past and say in 70 A.D. all that took place, because 99% of it didn't take place. And only a few things you might be able to pick out. You could say this took place then, and then even then you'd be guessing. Verse 5, he says, And upon her forehead was the name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. That's the name. I think that might be the longest title in the Bible. Definitely, I think that even is it Maher-Shalal-Hash-Baz? Is that the longest name? Looking at my wife, and she's not looking at me. It is. It's longer than that. Of course, this is a whole phrase here, a sentence, not just one word. But notice it's a mystery, and that's where folks don't realize that sometimes mysteries, they stay hidden, and people don't recognize them for what they are. In verse 6, he says, I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So we're going to find out that she's responsible for killing a lot of God's people. And of course, nobody's going to discuss this, certainly not the church, but they had a history of killing anyone that disagreed with their doctrinal position. And what happened was you have a lot of Christians or people that profess Christ that did not agree with some of the things that Rome taught. And some of it, it was absolute heresy, and it is. And when they defied Rome, they were excommunicated, and then they started just killing them like they were heretics for not falling in line. And when John sees this, it says he wondered with great admiration. Now, I don't think he means in the word that he just, he's admiring her work. The next verse says that he marveled because the Lord says, or the angel said unto him, wherefore didst thou marvel? So he's just amazed at what he's seeing because he had just left 70 AD. I'm sorry, he had just left 96 AD. Jerusalem was gone. They had been conquered 26 years earlier. He is now in heaven, and he is seeing something that is 2,000 years or approximate into the future. And he is just amazed at what he sees. He sees the same woman, same colors, same designations, 2,000 years later, and the transformation is just mind-blowing. But yet it is the same one. Where he saw pagan Rome, a military might that has conquered the known world, to a church sits on 108 acres and still ruling the kings of this world, still dictating. And if you don't know that, I'll tell you what, just get a book called Hitler's Pope, written by a Roman Catholic, researched in the basement of the Vatican. And if you can find it, I used to have 2 copies. I gave one away. But if you're really that interested in it, I'll take your picture with you holding the book. I'll loan it to you, let you read it. But that's the only way I'm giving it up, is if I got. But because I don't know if you ever find another copy. You can try. But when this guy wrote this book, he wasn't a Baptist. He wasn't someone that, had a grudge against the Catholic Church. He was a Catholic. And he will prove to you that it was the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, that was responsible for 2 world wars. They were responsible for it. And when Hitler came to power, you got to understand that Mussolini was Roman Catholic, fascist. Francisco Franco, Spain, Roman Catholic, fascist. And Adolf Hitler was a confirmed, baptized Roman Catholic, fascist. People don't tell you that. They try to skip over that but that is a historical fact that all 3 of them were Roman Catholics. And that Pope closed his eyes to what they were doing and allowed millions, 6 million Jews to be exterminated. And it was Adolf Hitler that said it was the Pope that said that and some of the cardinals, that Hitler was doing the work of God. And there are photographs in the book, his book, the Roman Catholic that wrote it, and it has these cardinals blessing Adolf Hitler. It's not CGI, it's not they were there. And he was never excommunicated. And that's just the historical record. So I believe that's what's happening with John. He's just looking in the future, and he's just like, it went from a wolf into sheep's clothing, is really what it did. And he mentions there, he says, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, we just mentioned the dragon that had 7 heads and 10 horns. Now he says the beast. Well, the beast and the dragon are practically one and the same. It'd be like Jesus and God the Father. Jesus said, I and the Father are what? One. They're one in the same. Well, these 2 are one in the same. That's why they both considered to have 7 heads and 10 horns. But he's going to give us the mystery of the woman. He's going to tell us some things here in the next few verses. And they're kind of like riddles to me. When I read this chapter, I think of Batman back in the day. And I'm talking about the old Batman series. We had the Riddler. And he goes, riddle me this, Batman, because, it's like a riddle to me. You'll see what I get when we get there. So, but the dragon, the beast, and the woman are intricately connected. No doubt about it. Because why? She's riding the beast. So in verse 8, it says, and the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. See what I mean about a riddle? It's not a riddle, but it sounds like one. And it says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. All right? So what this is it's just telling you the order of, these are actual events. And he's giving you an order of the events that are taking place and what is happening as these stages go. And when he says there, the beast that thou sawest was and is not. Okay? Well, when the Antichrist, that's the beast is Antichrist. When the Antichrist first shows up, what is he? Well, according to the scriptures, he is the man of sin. Okay? And he was the man of sin. And then he is not. Well, we know that he dies from a wound. The Antichrist dies. Now, this is the doctrinal explanation of this verse. I'm going to make an application historically, but doctrinally, he was the man of sin. He is not. He receives a mortal wound, and I'll give you the references to this, and did live. He's resurrected as the son of perdition. Now, let's see if the Bible agrees with that. So the beast, the man of sin, shows up in the middle of the 70th week, receives a deadly wound, is dead for 3 days, and comes up from the dead, and he's the son of perdition. Look at 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And I know most of you understand this somewhat, but maybe some of you don't. So let's look at the verses. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 7 and 8. He says, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. And that is no matter what time, what age, what year, the mystery of iniquity works. And the thing is, you say, what is that? That's the office of the man of sin. It's an office. It's a seat of authority. It has always been here. But since the time of Christ, it has been here. And it says, only he who now letteth, now, I let you in the door, but I could also, he who letteth will let, it means to stop or to, what's the word I'm thinking? Prevent. The word let, in tennis, the word means prevented. If the ball hits the net, they'll say let. That means it was prevented or it was stopped somehow or interfered with. Sometimes in the Bible it says that, talks about him wanting to go into Asia, and it said the Spirit was let hitherto. In other words, was prevented and not allowed to go into Asia at that point in time. So only he who now letteth will let until what? Until he be taken out of the way. See how that wording is? Taken out of the way. What's he talking about? Well, he's talking about that man of sin. Look at it says, verse 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed. When he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way, and then shall that wicked be revealed. You say, what is the man of sin? He's just a man. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have some demonic or devil connection to him, because we're going to find out that, who he was in the time of Christ. But when he's taken out of the way, it allows for that wicked to be revealed, the son of perdition. Now let's go on. It says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and shall destroy the brightness of his coming. Because that's who Jesus Christ comes back and destroys. He destroys the son of perdition. In Revelation, look at Revelation 13. Well, we've already covered chapter 13, but let's look at verse 3 and verse 14. He says, I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. Verse 3. And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound. I'm sorry, this is verse 14. I'm sorry. Saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. And in the book of Zechariah, we've covered that before. You have where it mentions there a sword across his right eye and his right arm, and it's a deadly wound. He's killed. 3 days later, he pops up and he's standing on his feet, but it ain't the same guy. I mean, one thing you have when he goes down is you have an empty body because the spirit and the soul depart and something came in his place. So, yeah, it's him, looks like him, you know. He's got like an Edgar suit. How many of you know what an Edgar suit is? I knew you'd all get that. Anyway, but historically, you could make this verse fit historically. When he says the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. All right, who was he historically? Judas Iscariot. What happened to Judas Iscariot? He hung himself like Christ. He hung himself from a tree. So you have the time of Christ as Judas, and then during the church age, well, he's not. Okay? And is not. And then it says, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. There's a second coming. He's coming again. And you know what he's coming for? A 42-month ministry. Because it's the last half of the 70th week. Exactly the same time frame that Jesus Christ had, a 42-month ministry or 3.5 years. That's what Judas is coming back for. All right? And we'll get into more of that about Judas as we go along here. And then it says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom, verse 9. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So he's already showed you something about the beast, because he said he was going to tell you about the mystery of the woman and of the beast. He started with the beast. Now he's picked the woman. And he says, here is the mind that hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Okay? Now, look at the last verse in chapter 17. Because the last verse in chapter 17 clearly defines what the woman is. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So this is a city that controls the kings of this world. Well, you've heard of the 7 hills of Rome, right? That's the only great city that sits on 7 mountains. And, you know, mountains, hills are used interchangeably. I mean, you talk about mountains, that's a hill country when you're looking at mountains, you know. So it's either or. The only other city that I know of other than Rome that sits on 7 hills is Cincinnati. And I've considered it. As wicked as that place is, man, I've considered Cincinnati. No, it's not. But sin, I mean, it even sounds right. Maybe it is. Anyway, he's definitely talking about Rome. Now look at verse 10. It says, and there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Another riddle. I mean, It's like you're dealing with a riddle, but you're actually not. He's just giving you the sequence of these kings and the sequence of them coming to power. And he tells you that there are seven. Remember, there are 7 heads. There are 7 heads. To the beast, to the dragon, there are 7 heads. And it pictures 7 kingdoms. I've given you those 7 kings before. But now he's telling you something a little bit different. He's saying about these 7 kings that 5 are fallen and 1 is. Okay? So we're not dealing with the exactly the 7 kings that we covered before. It's a little bit of a different grouping here, because before the 7 kings were Nimrod, Babel, okay, Pharaoh of Egypt, Sennacherib of Assyria, Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, Cyrus of Persia, Alexander the Great of Greece, and the Caesars of Rome. Those were the seven heads that we talked about. When he says 5 are fallen, look at Genesis chapter 10. And I believe that 2 of these are combined. When we're talking about Nimrod, Genesis chapter 10, look at verse 9 and 10. It says about Nimrod, he was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Verse 9, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And look what it says in verse 10. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel. The beginning. Well, look what he says there. He says, he talks about Akkad and Calneh, I guess is how you pronounce that, in the land of what? Shinar. Do you know where Babylon is? It's the land of Shinar. The same place Babel is. And he says, Babel's the beginning. Babylon is the continuation of that kingdom. And I believe those 2 are combined when he says that 5 are fallen, that when he talks about Nimrod and Nebuchadnezzar, both of those have fallen. The second one would be Egypt, it's fallen. Assyria, it's fallen. Remember, we just already mentioned, we've already included Babylon there, so we drop down to the 4th one, which would be Persia, and it's fallen. And the 5th one would be Greece. It's fallen. And then he says, and 1 is. Well, the one that is, that hasn't gone away for 2,000 years, is Rome. That's the one that is. And he says, and the other is not yet come. Well, what's coming is the Antichrist, the beast. But when he shows up, who is he? He's the man of sin. So then he says there, the other's not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. All right? So when the last one comes, he's only got a short time to do what he's going to do. Now, verse 11 kind of unfolds it for you. It says, and the beast that was and is not, okay, even he is the 8th. It is of the 7. Okay. Rome, pagan and papal, is what is right now. One is coming, and that is the beast who is the man of sin. Okay? He is the 7th. Then you have, he is killed, and the beast comes back to life, but he's the 8th now. He's the son of perdition. He's of the 7, but he is the 8th. That's the only way I know how to explain that, and I believe it to be so. Because think about it a second. The man of sin, whoever he is, whatever he is, when he shows up, is very deceptive. And he may even be likable. When this character shows up, he goes out to kill every Jew on the planet and anyone that won't take the mark of the beast. You know, it's like, it'd be like Edgar. You know, not the same guy. Completely different. But yet, looks like Edgar. One eye. There's pictures of it in history with that one eye, or a patch over the eye. You pirates and all that, you know, they got the patch over the eye. But I believe there was a fellow named Moshe Dayan, I believe I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name, but he was one of the generals for Israel, and he had that patch over the right eye. Also, bad right arm. You've got Napoleon. He always put his hand in he had a bad right arm. Adolf Hitler had a bad right arm. You'd always see him saluting with his left and keeping his hand down here like that. Huh? Bob Dole. Oh, poor Bob. Talk about Bob like that. Who else got one? There's more than that. I can't think of all the ones, but there's been pictures of it. The Lord always gives you pictures. He always gives you types all the way down through history. Hitler was not the Antichrist, but man, he sure is a great picture of one. Why? Because he goes to try to exterminate all the Jews. And that's exactly what he's going. And Hitler was trying to bring in the Third Reich. That means the third reign. 1,000-year reign. Man, that's what the Antichrist is talking about. Bringing a mock millennium. So the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth. He was the man of sin. He's dead. Now he's resurrected. He's the eighth. And he's of the seven, goeth into perdition. All right. Look in Revelation chapter 2, verse 13. Now, I think we covered some of this, but I'm going to cover a little bit of it again. In Revelation 2:13, it says, I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. So the Bible acknowledges that there's a place where there is Satan's seat. It's a seat of authority, where he dwelleth, spiritually, of course, but in the tribulation, it'll be physically true. When he talks about the son of perdition, or he goeth into perdition, look in John chapter 17, verse 12. The Bible has always defined who the son of perdition is. Doesn't leave it a mystery. Tells you who it is. In John 17:12, Jesus said, while I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me have I kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. Well, which one did he lose? He lost Judas. He hung himself. So, which I don't think is any accident. Everybody seemed to think that Judas was just all tore up inside about what was going on. He wasn't tore up inside. He knew something was up. He couldn't figure out why he wasn't calling down 12 legions of angels and wiping out everything that breathed. He couldn't figure out why, when he was condemned, he wasn't going to fight back. He was letting them condemn him. And then I think it just dawned on him. That's why he took the money back to the priest and threw it down and said, I've betrayed the innocent blood. Who didn't know that before? Do you know what those Jews said? Well, that's not our problem. See, I mean, once those Jews got put in motion, their stubbornness, their stiff-necked ways that they have, I mean, they couldn't stop it. I really do think the devil wanted to reverse everything. I really do. To this day, when I read the account where even Pilate's wife has a dream, it says, have nothing to do with this just man. That wasn't from God. God wanted him to go to the cross. Wanted him to pay for the sins of the world. He's not going to try to talk Pilate out of it. Somebody's trying to talk Pilate out of it. And Pilate tried. He even washed his hands of it, didn't he? So what does Judas do? He throws the money down and then he goes and hangs himself? What's he thinking? 3 days he's going to come back up? Because he thinks this is it? But what does God do? Shakes the body loose, it falls down, and it spoils the body. See, Satan can't know when. He can't know the timing, so he's got to be always ready. I think he even thought of it again. Herod, who is a type of the Antichrist, what happens to Herod's body in the book of Acts? It's eaten by worms. But what do they call him? He says it's not the voice of a man, it's the voice of a God. See, this thing, Herod was a Roman king. This thing just continues on, and I don't care what time in history, you've got the man of sin present, because it's just a man. But he holds an office. He holds a seat. Right now, we got an American sitting in that seat. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? In 2 Thessalonians 2:3, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. That's happened to the church. And that man of sin be revealed. All right? The son of perdition. So notice it's a comma there, man of sin be revealed. Well, he's going to come down. By the way, he doesn't need to be revealed to you. You already know who he is. Well, we don't know who the guy is, but we know who the son of perdition is. It's Judas. And that's what ultimately he becomes. Well, he's got to be revealed. And then in Acts 1:25, it says this about Judas, that he talk about Matthias, that he may take part of this ministry and apostleship from which Judas by transgression fell, that he might go to his own place. Judas has his own place, and we've already covered this in Revelation 9. His place is this. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. Well, I guarantee you Judas went to the pit all right, and guess what? He's not only the angel of it, he's the king of it. Whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Now, I don't like to run to the Greek, Hebrew. Every now and then you get a little nugget, and this one gives you a pretty good nugget. If you were to look up the word perdition, as in the son of perdition, the Greek word is Apollyon. That means the destroyer. So when it says the son of perdition, he's the son of Apollyon, son of the destroyer. Satan is the destroyer. And this guy is, of course, the Abaddon, can be destruction or whatever, but Apollyon is definitely perdition. That's how it's translated in 2 Thessalonians 2. So there's no doubt who it is that's coming up. Think about it. If you wanted to deceive the whole world, who would you pick? Would you pick someone that didn't know Jesus or walked with him for 3.5 years? I don't know if you know it or not, but Judas is healing right along with the others. And by the way, he was baptized, took the Lord's Supper, died and went to the pit. So much for religion, right? Huh? Yeah. A lot of people that are trusting in those things, they aren't going. Because they're not trusting in the man, Jesus Christ. And notice that Judas never called him Lord, always called him Master. Thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus. I don't know about you, I don't want to call him Master very often. I may have mentioned it one time in prayer in a blue moon, but it's Lord. He never called him Lord, he always called him Master. And he said, have I not chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil? I mean, I still can't work everything out about that because I'm not sure what he is. He's not really a man, he's a devil, but what does that mean? All I know is that when he died, his spirit went down. Okay? Because I told you before that when the Antichrist comes to, when that man of sin becomes the son of perdition, something comes up and something comes down. And the man of sin is in the middle. And when he stands up, they think, well, it's him. But it's not him. It's the devil incarnate. He is on the earth. All right? Let's look at that. Look in Revelation chapter 12. Revelation chapter 12, verse 9 to 13. Scripture with scripture, line upon line, line upon line. It brings you to this conclusion. In verse 9, it says, and the great dragon, 12:9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, no question about who this is, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth. And guess what? And his angels were cast out with him. That element seems to be missing from our understanding of what's going to happen. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. Notice that there's a difference. There's more than one Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. And that's what it takes to be saved in the tribulation. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. Why? For the devil has come down unto you. While he's already here in spirit, the mystery of iniquity doth already work. If the mystery of godliness was God manifest in the flesh, and it is, then the mystery of iniquity is Satan manifest in the flesh, and he will be. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. He's got 42 months. And when the dragon saw that he was cast out unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. What does he try to do? He tries to wipe out Israel. I mean, he's buddy-buddy with them when he first shows up. I mean, he literally makes a covenant with them. And he confirms the Mosaic covenant so that they'll make sacrifices and build the temple. But by the middle, the gig is up. He turns on them. He tries to wipe them out. And he probably gets them down to a couple thousand out of 14 million. Because when Jesus Christ shows up, there's only a remnant of them. Some of them get out without dying in a post-trib rapture. But there are some of them that stay there. And that's why the Bible tells you in Romans chapter 11, I think verse 23, it says, and all Israel shall be saved. Well, whoever's left does get saved when he comes back, because he saves them physically and spiritually. Because when they see him, they're saved. They're expecting it. They know he's coming, but that's the ones that miss the post-trib rapture. That's those 5 foolish virgins that are left behind. Anyway, well, let's move on from that before I get tangled in something and I can't get out of it. Verse 12 and 13. And the 10 horns which thou sawest, now we're back to the beast. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive powers, kings, 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. Now, the best example of this is in Daniel chapter 2. You say, who are they? I don't know exactly who they are. I'll give you what I think, who I think it is. It's been said that they're the revived Roman Empire. Well, when you get to the book of Revelation, everything's on a bigger scale. It's like those plagues that Moses brought down in Egypt. They were just for Egypt. But the plagues that Moses is going to bring down in tribulation for the whole world. So I think that we need to think a little bit broader when we think about these 10 kings and what they're going to rule over. And he says there in verse 41 of Daniel chapter 2, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes. How many toes? 10. Unless you're one of them giants, you might have 12. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. I think I finally understand this a little bit better now. Let's read. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with the miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. So it's not going to be like Genesis 6 in the sense that we're going to have a breed of giants that don't have the time. Listen, everything was about purpose back then. These angels that mixed with the women of this world had purpose. They wanted to contaminate man's seed. Why? Because it came from the seed of a woman that would be the one that would conquer and crush the head of Satan. So they went after the seed. And here, it's not that determination to contaminate the seed. They're just mixing with it. They're a part of it. Okay, now think about this. So I believe that these kings, this is my speculation about it, are 10 supernatural entities. In other words, they come down with the Antichrist. All right? And they take control of the kingdoms of this world, divided up into 10 regions, 10 being the number of the Gentiles, by the way. Now, that's what I think. I think it's broken up into 10 regions, and these 10 supernatural kings rule with, because he says they're of one mind. One mind. Well, you can't get 10 politician kings together on anything. But these all have one mind, and that's the mind of the beast. Okay? And of course, they only have 42 months, and I imagine it would take time to establish this. So they have a little time, if you think about it. So what do we draw? The conclusion we draw from this is in the middle of the 70th week marks an invasion of earth by fallen angels and the devil himself. Now, I'm going to throw something up. The devil does not come down as a physical dragon, now does he? Yet he comes down. Whatever that spiritual being, he literally comes down. So, but he possesses the body of the man of sin, doesn't he? If this holds true for the angels, which are spirits, then devil possessions would be off the chart worldwide. What is interesting is, and this is, I'm asking you to think a little bit, and I know on a Wednesday night that's asking a lot. When Jesus Christ shows up, he's offering them both kingdoms, kingdom of God, kingdom of heaven. One's physical, one's spiritual. He's offering it to them at the same time. If they accept it, and they hadn't crucified it, this thing would have done been over with. But the Lord knew it wasn't going to happen that way, okay? But what is going on in Israel at that time that is one thing that just keeps showing up over and over? That is devil possession. Demon is a transliteration, so it's devil possession. Throwing them into the fire. They're doing things, just acting crazy. What's interesting is that it's Jews and Gentiles. Because the Syrophoenician woman, who is a Gentile, is trying to get Jesus Christ to heal her daughter because she's grievously vexed with a devil. And he ends up healing that girl. So you have this devil possession. Even on through the book of Acts, you have devil possession showing up. So what if these things come down and it says they mingle? You got the clay, you got the iron. Iron's always connected with that angel. Partly strong, partly weak. Why? It's man and angel. If God can't have you, if God can't possess you, and I don't mean, I'm not talking, but if God can't be the one to be inside you and possess you, then the devil will get you. And ultimately, that's the case, man. In the tribulation, they've had 2,000 years to accept Jesus Christ. And yeah, that's exactly what just about every sci-fi flick or horror flick, it's the invasion of the body snatchers. I mean, think about it. Something is going to be controlling these people spiritually. And by the way, you know what opens you up to that kind of thing? Drugs. Do you know what the sin is in the tribulation? One of the greatest sins? Sorcery. What is sorcery? Sorcery is mixing a potion, changing your perspective on life. It's drugs. The word sorcery comes from the Greek word pharmakeia, I think it is. We get the word pharmacy from it. That's the word for sorcery. And that thing's going on. You know what that does? It opens you up. So I think there may be a lot of possession going on. Why? These things come down and they mix and they mingle. They're not so much cohabitating, and I think that might be some of that, but they're not trying to raise a breed of giants. You can't raise a breed of giants in 3.5 years or 42 months. That's not their point. They want to control this whole entire world and to do it. And that makes sense because of the armies that might be mixed together. Because I told you about these armies coming up. There's some things coming out of the pit and all that kind of thing going on. And I don't understand all that. But this kind of makes more sense that they're like zombie soldiers. And they're doing what they're told to do. They're being okay. If there's one thing we've got going on right now, would you have to agree? We talk about mental illness. Well, there's a thin line between mental illness and devil possession. I believe people can be mentally ill. Don't get me wrong. They can have physiological problems. But who's to say that a lot of it's not spiritual problem? So these things are going to take place. And I'm thinking that now, since they've rejected the Lord, they get the devil. And they get all the spirits that come with that. Now we'll see what I'm of the mind that something physically is coming down, because that's what everybody expects. They're looking for ET. They're looking for ET. They're looking for something extraterrestrial that supposedly has more sense than what we've got, because we can't live with each other. We kill each other. We're corrupt to the point of ridiculous. I mean, if anything, you can see that now. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle. Doesn't matter which president. It doesn't matter. The whole world lieth in wickedness, the Bible says. And, everybody's just getting sick of it and getting tired of it. But they don't want Jesus Christ. Do you realize that this book, if you followed this book, just followed the moral guidelines of this book, we would have a paradise on earth. You would never do anything to hurt your neighbor. You know that? You watch out for his things. You wouldn't steal his wife. You wouldn't steal his her husband. You wouldn't steal from their crops or anything. You wouldn't kill them. You wouldn't cheat them. I mean, if you just follow the moral conduct, you're a pretty good person. They don't want that. They want perversion. And as a result of all that, they're going to get it. I mean, it's going to be Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. Worse. A worldwide thing. So I don't know. Some things are just going to unfold as we go along. We're going to start seeing these things are in the tribulation. They'll start seeing it. But at first, somebody's got to come down, and I think that's the man of sin. I'm not so certain he's here on this earth. You say, where does he come from? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where he's hiding out. But and maybe he's not just a man. Maybe he is some type of You're not a man, but you look like one. I can't think of it. Come on, Keith, help me out. Huh? What? Huh? Humanoid. Humanoid. That's what I meant. He's some humanoid. Angels do appear as men, okay? And he would have to show up. He's going to show up when Israel, and this is the things you got to look for. Israel's going to be surrounded by our enemies. They're not going to have any friend, not one, not the United States, not anyone. They're going to be surrounded. They're going to be sure destruction if somebody doesn't step in. And instead of call upon God, here he comes. That white horse rider, Revelation chapter 6, and dun, da, 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 he comes in and delivers Israel. And Israel says, our Messiah. Jesus said, if one cometh in his own, it says, if one cometh in his own name, him you shall receive. He came in the name Jesus, Jehovah saves, and they rejected him. Remember I says, if you don't, listen, if it's not the Lord, it's going to be the devil. Okay, anybody got a question or comment? That's the best I can do with the passage. I think it's correct. But I'm